We're live. Um, Michelle, this is my first time meeting with you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
um, just as far as an initial question, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and where more specifically, where are you at this stage in your life? Like, what would you label this chapter in your life?
Mm, joy and ease.
Joy, I love it.
Yeah, so my name is Michelle Markquart, and I have sober homes in Wisconsin. I started in 2020 opening my first sober living home for women in recovery from addiction. And I opened that because when I needed that as a resource, there was nothing in my hometown. And so I had to stay about an hour and a half away in a sober home in
Mm,
St. Paul, Minneapolis. And it was everything that I needed because 30 days in treatment is not nearly long enough for people to heal. And so
right.
having that extra period of time to be able to go home, gradually transition home, re-expose myself to the stressors that led me to want to use substances to manage my emotions and my life. It was everything. And so when I left my sober home, I just had this knowing that I needed to bring that to my town. And it was about a year after I was clean and sober. I was all set to pull the trigger. I found a house. It was perfect. And I just couldn't quite seem to pull the trigger. And in hindsight now, I know there's no way I was ready for that kind of responsibility at that point. So it was 4 years when I was clean and sober, 4 years when I finally got the calling that it was time. And so I opened the first house in 2020, and we now have four homes, two for women, women and infants are included, and then we have two for men. And yeah, so we have been in business for 5 years. This will about 5.5 right now. And yeah, so we've built a really beautiful program to support people in recovery from addiction. And through all of that, I've had to have my own personal growth and working through my own stuff that I had. And so, yeah, this phase of my life feels like the fruition of all that hard inner work, all the all the hard stuff to get through. So getting to the other side of that is it's just settling into a phase of just life is really good and it's
That,
really beautiful.
that's good, man. Wow. Such a big endeavor to establish these things. What are the difficulties along the way? I mean, I've got about 1,000 different questions for you regarding this here because it's such a huge thing to take on. I mean, you're taking on the business aspect of it, but also you're taking on the client aspect of it, and your clientele, probably the hardest clientele out there.
Yeah, addiction recovery is it's a challenge. And um, the biggest challenge at first was opening the house because, of course, as soon as the neighbors found out what we were doing, they were not thrilled. And
Hmm.
the city and complained, and we had lots of conversations with the city.
Hmm.
And the neighborhood kind of got excited about something else and got busy and sort of went away and let us just kind of do our thing. And then we also, on top of that, recovery residences are typically places that are people trying to get well. And so they're quiet. We're just in there trying to do our own thing, mind our own business, not cause a lot of drama and issues. So they
Hmm.
turned out we are very good neighbors. And so that has been really helpful. But yeah, just overcoming the stigma. Finding funding sources was challenging
Yeah.
because the people that we're serving oftentimes are coming to us right from treatment or from prison or from the counties. So they often don't have jobs. We're at rock bottom. Things have gone
Yeah.
poorly and they don't have funding. So we have to find funding. So we try to find funding sources for them so that we can buy them at least 3 to 6 months for them to get on their feet before they start to move to self-pay, which we keep on a lower, much more affordable level. Um, so yeah, those are some of the biggest hurdles. And then you're working with people who are super vulnerable and they're
Yeah.
very emotional and they're trying to take away the substance and all the emotions come back, all the feelings come back, which is the good news. The bad news is the feelings come back. And now I got to learn how to manage them and work my way through them without leaning on a substance to sort of escape from them. So just being patient and understanding that we're meeting people in different places. So some people might come through the door and this is their last time, right? And they're ready and they just launch. There's other people who they might just be getting clean and sober for the first time and trying it out. And so they might not, we might not get them to the other side of it all the way. And others are, everybody's at different places in their process. They say it takes at least 5 serious attempts for somebody to get clean and sober. So
Mm.
it's a process. It's a disease that it takes a lot of time, and relapse can be part of it. So
Yeah, I used to work at I used to do substance abuse counseling for about a year and a half in my internship experience. One of the statements that was very normal was the idea that substance that the process, particularly the center itself, it was described as a revolving door. Um, and there is this a little bit of the statistic that it's very hard to recover. Give me your feedback on that. Like is it a very, I mean, I've definitely been able to experience individuals who have been in recovery, from their experiences. What has been your experience with that? Like how many people, what if you were to give me the percentage, like if 100% of people come through your door, how many people still struggle with issues, you know,
when they
even
leave,
after treatment? Yeah.
yeah, we have a really high recovery rate. We have a 43% success rate. So
Wow.
43 of the people percent of the people that stay with us
Whoa.
um, are clean and sober a year later. So
Whoa.
that's really high. But
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it
we have
is. I'm
really
almost
high.
flabbergasted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but but you come from, you have that background. You come from the painful experience of it. You know what you're doing. So what's the secret sauce?
The beautiful part about it is that we have we have a captive audience, right? It's like we've got them in real time. So when they come home after a stressful experience out in the world, we're there to catch them.
Okay.
And so we can catch them before the wheels come off the bus and try to help them work through what was the stressor that you faced. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
The thing is getting people to talk about it. And so often we're trying to carry everything inside on our own because that's what the world teaches us. Oh, we should just, suck it up and move through it or whatever. And we create a very different environment where it's a safe space to come home and whatever comes out, and let's help you work through it and get to the other side of it, and to open the mind to the possibilities that maybe there's another way to look at this. What else could be happening? Maybe it's not a personal attack on you, or whatever the story is that we're spinning in our heads. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that we have them where we can catch them in real time
Mhm.
and train our staff to be trauma informed. And what does that look like? That a
Mhm.
lot of behaviors and stuff are things that we've learned early on, survival mechanisms, right? It's how we've learned to cope. And so
Right.
now teaching them that there's another way, or a different way to look through it, or how do you work through a craving, when it's really coming up hard that you want to go use, I want to escape this emotion. One of the tools that we have is we have an ice bath, and we take our people through an ice bath.
Okay.
Well, when you the 35, 40-degree freezing cold water, every fiber of your being says, get out of here, we're going to die.
Right.
It's and we teach them to breathe, get control of their thoughts, get control of your mind, get control of your emotion, just breathe, you're just cold. you this is what cold feels like. And we have them sit in that for up to a minute if they can, 2 if they want to. And then just stepping out of that water in that moment afterwards gives them the realization that it's like, I can get through hard things. So
Mm.
when I come up against stuff in real life, where, like, one of my girls told me the story, like 2 days after we did the ice bath, she had to go to the dentist and have what was left of her teeth pulled, because
Mhm.
a lot of people, when they're using meth, we lose
Mhm.
the teeth, the meth.
Yeah.
And she was terrified. And she said, I sat in there and I thought I could leave. I don't need to sit here. I don't need to do this. I could just go. The door's right there. And then it dawned on me. She said, it's just an ice bath. If I did that, I can do this. And she talked herself into staying and going through the procedure so that then she could get new teeth. And now she has a beautiful smile. But she was able to draw on that experience into a real life situation to say, this is just an ice bath. If I can do that I can do this. So they prove to themselves that they can do hard things because we think we can't.
Do you guys go through like 12-step process? I mean, is that part of the, like, is there a standard routine, like generic, uh um uh the different forms of treatment go from 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, three times a week to 3 hours, like 9 hours a week almost. It can get that intense.
Mm-hmm.
Your individuals live there. Do you guys have like a standard process and approach outside of the ice bath treatment that says that this is, or maybe I'm asking this the wrong way. I know that I've done substance abuse counseling, and there's always different philosophies of thought on what's effective substance abuse counseling. And I think that's the heart of my question is, well, what do you think is effective substance abuse counseling? Do you guys have a certain protocol? Again, going back, you guys are certain procedure and recipe that says that this is really what helps individuals.
Holding space for them that's non-judgmental and
Mm,
trying to force a certain methodology on them, because I think like this is very individualized, right? It's like everybody's
mm,
individual, and what's going to work for one person doesn't work for somebody else. So
yeah.
walking alongside them while they figure out what it is that they need in their lives to stay happy, healthy, and balanced, which is actually more based in smart recovery, which is a cognitive behavioral and dialectical behavioral type of therapy.
Uh,
It's not as well known as the 12 steps. The 12 steps are the most well known. And we
mhm,
do require people to go to 3 meetings a week of their choice. So a lot of times they end up in 12 steps because they're more common. We've now
mhm,
started a smart recovery meeting, and then we've also started another mental wellness meeting in our community to just give them more options. So we accept whatever form of recovery path they want to choose. We
okay.
allow them the choice.
I love what you said. It's definitely a crux of what I think is effective therapy at the end of the day, which is being able to sit in that space non-judgmentally with that individual, and for that person not to feel alone along that journey. And it is a hand holding experience even in the therapeutic realm, but I can imagine it's the exact same way in the recovery realm.
Yeah, and there's so often we've had so many beautiful healing moments just in sitting and talking about something. When somebody comes home and something they're struggling and they're finally willing to talk about it, and just listening and not trying to fix it, but just listening to them and validating them and go, yeah, that would be really hard. That was really awful. I'm sorry you had to go through that, because they're carrying so much trauma. And yeah, it's just a lot of times just being there for them and listening. And then when they know what they need, I believe that we know intrinsically what we need to heal. Sometimes it's not obvious right up front, um, but eventually they'll get there. Like, what do they need? So, just holding that space while they figure it out and try different things. And I like to bring to them different healing modalities, the non traditional.
Okay.
We try, everybody's got a therapist. We have a peer support person that they meet with every week. And then they also have the people in the house that are going through the same thing, right? They're in recovery, they're trying to do it differently, and having that support of their peers is really powerful.
It sounds like a very intricate, holistic model and approach to it. Even when you were afraid framing it, you talking about using the ice bath. That is not in traditional recovery.
No.
but but if you do the research on the usefulness of ice bath, there are a ton of useful effects that come as a result of doing ice bath plunges, or just like the cold water type of effect that it has on the body. So
Yeah.
um I am, again, you seem like an amazing person. It seems like you are doing some successful and amazing things out there. By all means.
Yeah.
Um
We have acupuncture. We do acupuncture. We do part of our program is incorporating movement, because movement is a incredible anti-anxiety and antidepressant. It's the
yeah,
most used anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication.
yes.
So incorporating some movement, learning to get comfortable in your own skin because we feel so alienated and outcast in society, like just getting comfortable being in your own body.
Hmm.
Getting judgmental. We have an acupuncturist that comes in. So giving them access to a lot of different tools that they might not have exposure to otherwise. So for me, that was what was helpful to me in my recovery, is finding what of those things worked. We do breath work, we do yoga,
Mm.
nutritional education because it matters. I can manage my emotions better if my body feels stronger. If I'm putting sugar and garbage into it, I can't manage my emotions as well. If I'm
Sure.
putting good healthy food in and moving my body, I can work with my my system to help it can be stronger versus, just pouring junk into it and doing the same old thing, so educating them about the neurology of what happens to our brains and stuff in recovery and when we're using, and that you can fix it, you can heal it, and here's how, and that it's going to take time.
Is this a standard package or standard approach? I know I use standardization stuff like that, but you understand that we don't just do things randomly. Even if we
Right.
talk about doing a collective therapy, there's an underlying methodology and underlying philosophy that is, even though if I have a broad palette and having a eclectic palette, even in therapy, it's still coming from a specific approach. So is your stuff standardized that way? Like, are they giving like a menu and saying what options what options do I want to choose to better myself? Or is there something that says that you need to go through these things? These are the core things, and these things are optional.
We basically, what we do, our format is that twice a week we have gatherings. We bring the house together. So within each house, they come together twice a week, once on Sundays and then once on Thursdays. So the Sunday house meeting is just kind of a check in. Did you do your chores? Did you get to your meetings? Anything you're struggling with? It's just a time to bring everybody together and just touch base and, connect again.
Mhm.
Thursday night is the night that we do all of the education and we just bring them all these different things. The acupuncturist comes to their houses once a week on Sundays to
Mhm.
do acupuncture for whoever is interested. So nobody is forced to do anything except they do have to show up to the Thursday night meetings where we teach them about all of these different things. But it's then up to them to choose, does this fit for you? Because not everybody's going to want to do ice bath. Not everybody's going to, and we don't force anybody to do anything that they're uncomfortable with.
Mhm.
If it's interesting to you, if it feels like it's right for you, give it a try. We ask them, like when I was young and you don't want to eat your vegetables, try it. And then if you don't like it, don't eat it.
Right.
It's kind of like that. So we ask them to be open-minded and try these various modalities, and then they might be surprised. Does it work and does it help and does it fit for them? And then they get to choose to use what things are helpful for them. But everybody gets a chance to experience these things because sometimes you don't know. You think you don't like something and then
Mhm.
you experience it and it's like, oh, that's different than I thought it was going to be. And then it's like, well, remember, if that works for you, put that in your toolbox, your emotional toolbox to use it later.
Yeah, I love it. You know, there's a couple of you talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. Actually, two of my favorites. That's cognitive behavioral therapy is like the standard. I always call it. It's like it was a save your own butt type of therapist on our end. Every time I hear it, I was like, oh, they're just trying to save their own butt. It's like we use because the reality is, like you were saying, there's more. There is no one approach that is the ultimate approach to any type of human experience. It really is an individualized experience on what the individual is adapting more to. And that's our job to have those things in our toolbox or have those things available to be able to provide them based off of their own unique individualized experience. So, but you talked about those two as the primary things that you use. Why?
Well, those are what's foundation for the smart recovery. So, and
Okay.
that was what I got. That's the
Okay.
modality that helped me get clean and sober. Because what I
Okay.
liked about it was that it challenged my beliefs. It made me think about the way that I'm using words. What am I saying to myself? What am I
Mhm.
saying inside? Because that's
Right.
usually where we're shredding ourselves and we're the most critical. So, learning to be kind and talk to myself better, choosing my words better as to how to communicate, because communication is really hard because what I say might not be what somebody else hears, right? And
Mhm.
learning to choose different words too, or like, how can I communicate this better? If it's not clicking for somebody, how else can I say this? What
Mhm.
approach can we use? How can I use cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy to challenge my thinking, to
Mhm.
challenge my, what I remember when I learned about the distorted thoughts, and I was just like, are you kidding me? I can't even trust my own thoughts. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
they might not be right.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
I can't trust my own brain. What? But it
Yeah.
was also really freeing after I was done being mad about it. It was like, oh, okay, I can, maybe the way I'm seeing things isn't the only way. Maybe, maybe, maybe there's another way I could be looking at this or thinking about it or talking about it. And
Mhm.
just opening that door to maybe or what if was
Mhm.
so powerful. That opened the door for willingness to change. And so I think those therapies are really important to help people start down the path. And they're such a solid foundation. Like you said, it's a building block. And then from there, they can add in other things that might work really well. We have a Gestalt trauma coach on
I
staff.
love it.
So we use the Gestalt a lot, the experiential stuff.
Yeah.
We see a lot of light bulbs go off with that. That's a
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Gestalt therapy too. I'm a Gestalt therapy, CBT, but I mean that's like the baseline. Dialectical dialectical behavioral therapy and mindfulness sort of mesh. So I love things related to that area. Anyways, um, um, account. So you talk about dealing with a very difficult population to support. There's a lot of nuances that come along with it. How like manipulative individuals, like um, how do you hold individuals accountable when they come in when they don't necessarily have the right motive?
Well, like we said, it's like you're going to catch people at different places.
Hmm.
And as you know, we can't make somebody change. So I liken what we do as the kind of the when you go to the bowling alley and you put the bumpers up so that you don't go in the gutters. We're
Hmm.
trying to provide those bumpers a little bit. So the accountability part is we try to hold, there's some basic rules in terms of we're going to do random drug tests.
Hmm.
Um, there's going to be curfew. You got to get to your meetings. We want them to be doing their part. We give them 3 chances. So you can get 3 strikes before you're asked to leave the sober home. So if you come home drunk or high, you have to leave the house immediately because now you're not safe for the other people that are in the house trying to stay clean and sober. But you
Hmm.
can come back because sometimes having that relapse is part of it, especially when we get somebody out of prison
Hmm.
and they're in the world and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go one more time, and then they go try it and there's like, yeah, I don't want that. So sometimes that can be a really helpful tool to go, yeah, I really don't want to go back to that life. So then okay, after they're clean, we bring them back, we come back home, and then now what did you learn, what can we put in place, and we have them make their own rules. So if somebody breaks the rules or does something that requires some kind of discipline, I put it to them to say, what do you think the repercussions should be? And then what are you going to do differently next time going forward? We basically help them create their own plan. And we ask them to give themselves their own punishment. Because if you punish yourself, you're going to stick to it, right? Because I didn't tell you you had to do this.
Right.
You said you had to do this.
Right. You're leveraging their
Get
own
mad.
voice. I mean, yeah. Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't be mad at me because you picked it.
Right.
It's like you can, but well, this is what you chose for yourself. And it's much more powerful, right? So
Mhm.
just giving them those bumpers and for the accountability piece of it, giving them some basic structure without it being so tight that it feels restricting, that there's freedom within it and that there's
Yeah.
forgiveness. So yeah, if you're running a little bit late and you're on your way home and you're going to be late for curfew, call your house manager. Hey, I'm on my way. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. Okay, no problem. We're not going to give you a strike for that. That's because you're being responsible. But if you're doing it all the time, now we're
Mhm.
going to have a conversation. This is a pattern. What can we do differently? Do we need to help you with, planning your time management, which, I struggle with that still. So I'm still trying to learn how to be on time.
Right. Right. You and me, sister. Yeah. No kidding. Is it a fair statement to say that recovery includes relapse? That along the recovery process, you'll probably relapse at some point, and that's okay.
Yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
And
Yeah.
that's why the numbers are so dismal, right? That's why typically the numbers don't look good. And that kept me sick for a really long time because
Mhm,
I knew the statistics, 85% failure rate. I was
mhm,
like, well, why do I think I'm going to be in that 15% that's going to make it? I'm
mhm.
not going to make it. I'll never get out of this.
Right,
Well, it looks so poor because we do relapse, because it
right,
takes 5 serious attempts.
right,
Because the first time you try to stop, it's probably not going to click the first time, right? The first time you want to make a major life change,
right,
it's it's a process. So for us, going back and reusing our drug to alleviate the emotional stress and strain is it really is part of the process. So
right.
does it happen for some people on the first try? Absolutely. But that's rare.
Yeah, I remember, I remember being introduced to substance abuse counseling, and I thought I was doing such great work with my client, and then my client came back to me and said they had binged, and then they went through a binge spree off of like cocaine. It was like a real strong substance, and I was just floored. I felt so disheartened. It's
Like
like
what happened?
we did all this good work. I put all this energy into this person. It's
Yeah,
like, and then my clinical supervisor would be like, he was like,
part
yes,
of it.
that's normal. Sam, you got to be okay with that, Larry. This is part of the process.
Yeah, because we
And
can be doing all
yeah,
this good work in the office, but then how do I take that out into the real world?
right, right,
That's the tricky part. And that's where I feel like what we do in the sober home is like, now I can teach you, you know what your counselor and your therapist taught you? This is how it translates into real life. This is your
right.
situation. This is what they're talking about. This is what
Yeah,
that looks
yeah, 100%. Commend you for the work that you're doing. I think that it's very much necessary, and there's huge holes. I mean, there's such it's such a great need for it, and I don't know whether this era that we're in supports it as much. Not that's not to slam anything politically. I'm not really a huge political person, but
like.
you know, does being in this sort of era where funds are sort of seem like they're cut, does that impact you? Does it impact? Because you've been 5 years. That was prior to the transition into the next political, the Trump era. I hate to bring out too much politics. I'm not used to it,
Right.
but does that? But does did the new did this Trump era that we're in, did it impact the funding that you could have received? Give me
It
your thoughts
hasn't
on that.
yet.
Okay.
It has. There's definitely significantly more competition for grants.
Mm,
So the
okay.
grants, which were hard for us to get in the first place because I'm a small nonprofit.
Mhm.
Um, we've grown now, but typically you've got to have some track record behind you. You've got to have some time to show that you're sustainable. You're gonna make it
Okay.
before you get grants. So grants have always been a challenge. Um, we really rely a lot on Department of Corrections and our counties and we also have tribal affiliations,
Okay.
rely on them to help give us the funding to get people started. So it's typically the probation and parole officers that want to see their people do well. I have a great relationship with our local DOC. With people that understand that if we can get people that are incarcerated into a healthy, safe living environment, they have a much better likelihood of not getting back into the system and reoffending. If we can help them start to, make
Mhm.
that back to society in a good way. And so they're
Yeah.
really about helping to get people in our doors because they know it matters. So the funding piece has been a big deal. And then we're also a nonprofit because we do rely on donations from individuals and other organizations, churches, that sort of thing, to help support these people because they don't have anything, but they're also people that we need in our society, right? So they're doing work in early recovery that's less stressful, but they're working at the coffee shops, they're CNAs, they're doing
Right.
manufacturing, different things like that. And so they're important to have back in society and to show them that they have a place.
How important is it for you as a nonprofit to have established, you know, partnerships, connections with the community? Like, is that part of I sort of hear it. Is that part of sort of like the game plan? Is like, let's make sure that we are holding hands with the other, the respective institutions that these people are inevitably coming out of. Kind of.
Absolutely, 100%. And with our other local nonprofits, right? Like we have relationships with our local YMCA. They
Mhm.
give memberships to all of our people, which is
Nice.
beautiful. So they have that as an outlet. We have partnerships with people that have access to housing. So, because that became very apparent early on, that when they go to leave us, if we've done all this good hard work of getting them clean and sober, but they don't have a safe place to move into, the likelihood of them going back to, unhealthy living situations is pretty high. And
Mhm.
then the likelihood of them
Yeah.
staying clean and sober is not great. So helping them to find safe, supportive housing, supportive services, to help them continue to make the changes that they need to make, because this isn't recovery is not a, oh, I broke my arm, I put it in a cast, I let it heal, now I'm done, it's all better, right? It's not
Right.
like it's a lifelong journey, and you have to, and it's psychological, which is more challenging than it's not as, tangible as like, here's my hand, this is, my bones. There's
Yeah.
that inner work is so challenging, and it's easy to fall back into old patterns if you don't continue to have the support of, your community. So educating the community has been really important too, that when you understand and know what addiction is and what it looks like to heal. And even as myself as an addict, I didn't know. I had no idea. So educating our community and building strong referral partners has been integral for on the front end for getting people to us and for transitioning them out, which is, I think, why we have such a good success rate. Is we don't just like come in, okay, for treatment. It's like you come in, you do your 30 days. It's like, bye, go home, go to 12 steps for the rest of your life and good luck. We hand them off. It's like, we're not,
Okay.
just good luck, see ya, be on your merry way. We go, okay, what's your system? What have you put together? What are your tools? When are you going to know that you need to use them? We do relapse prevention plans. Who are your support services? Who's out there going to, who are you going to call when you get in struggle? And the doors are always open for people to come back. Our Thursday nights, we call family nights. Come back, be part of that. You're not alone. They can stay connected to us, and we make sure that they're connected to the community and, the services that they need when they leave us.
Um, how long do you talk about care, being on your care and then aftercare. Um, how long do you have a certain period of time that says we're going to follow up with you pretty consistently post, well, like what does that look like aftercare services?
We connect, we make sure that they're connected before they leave us, that they have a
Okay.
therapist, that they have we have a program called CCS, which is community services for people that are in addiction recovery.
Okay.
um, they're connected to CCS programming, which is also alternative types of support services, peer support, other people that have been in recovery, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
um, we connect them up. We do so much with them before we send them out the door. We connect them up to a local bank that helps them to rebuild their credit.
Oh,
We
nice.
how to budget, because we know the things that are going to send them back out, right? Financial stress is a big one. Relationship stress is another one. So if they're partnered, do you have a therapist that you're working with to help with your partnership? Because trying to stay clean and sober and stay in a partnership is very, very challenging,
Mhm.
because you're bringing so many maybe unhealthy dynamics that you had when you were in use together. So yeah, it's really making sure that they have all of those things in place prior to moving on to the next step. And sometimes people are like, oh no, I got it, it's good. And you're just like, okay, come back if, that's great, you got it, go to town. And then if you need anything or you start to struggle, reach out, let us know. We'll find you, we'll connect you to the services that you need.
Okay. But it seems like there's this sort of like you're preparing them to sort of spread their wings and fly, but there's nothing necessarily like we have to like follow up that, but there's this making sure that they have a plan in place and then allowing them to fly on their own kind of. Is that
Yep.
is that what I'm hearing? Mhm.
Yep, we do follow up. We send out, surveys 3, 6, 9, and 12 months after they leave.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
do send little surveys, how you doing, any relapses, and a lot of times, what we're finding is people don't fill out the surveys. They're just like, whatever, they're doing life, right? Everybody gets busy when things start to, you go out to do real life. It's like you're working, managing kids, you're, doing all the things, and, not a lot of people send them back. But the ones that it had a deep impact and made a huge difference, we often hear back, or they reach out at some point, or they'll give us a call, or, circle back and tell us how important their time with us was. And yeah, so we do send out some surveys, or we'll just reach out because we have everybody's phone number. So sometimes we'll just be like, "Hey, haven't seen you for a while. How you doing?" But if they're in the community, we're also typically running into them at meetings and seeing them out and about, and so we kind of know how they're doing as well, and we can just kind of, they tend to stay connected to the house, and they are in the community, and we see them out there, and so we can kind of still keep a pulse on how they're doing.
I just had this idea pop in my mind. Like every organization like this, they should like set up like an online Facebook group, or it's like a private online group that sort of allows people to sort of stay connected without having to manage it directly. Like, school, I don't know if you're familiar, like school.com. Like they have this nice sort of like community set up where you can invite people into this space, and it's an online space that everybody can contribute to. And I like, that'd be perfect. I was just thinking that'd be perfect for like people in post recovery, just so that they can stay connected without the organization feel like they have to fully maintenance the relationship, which can be
Yeah.
daunting on both ends. Like, but that would be an ease of access there. That would be easy for them to stay connected, and also for you to, and easy for you guys to stay connected with them. Anyways, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, engaged. Yeah, that's a really great. Social media is not my strength, but
No,
I do media person. So as we grow and expand, that's good. That's a really good idea. So yeah, keeping that alumni space, or
right.
or people that are just interested in getting clean and sober, or like maybe they're, struggling a little bit, to tap in, and having that online space where they can start to ask questions of people that have been through it,
Right.
to, stick their toe in the water a little bit, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, 100%. I commend you for the work that you're doing. Like I said, it's you said that, there's a Bible verse that says the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And unfortunately, the scarcity is based off of because of resources at this point. Um, there's a lot of organizations willing to help, but there's the resources are restricting access. Is that in your area where you're at? Is that what's taking place? Kind of, you talked about that at the beginning.
Yeah. Yep, there's some scarcity of some of the resources, but then there's also, just the tenacity. And most of the people that start sober homes like I do, we're using our own resources to
Yeah,
start. We do it because we have a passion for it, and it's not a moneymaker.
yeah,
um, but it's the most rewarding work I've ever done in my entire life, and
that's what.
it has made me strengthen my spiritual life in the most significant ways, because
Amen.
I
Yeah,
have to trust that there is something bigger than me that is responsible for and guiding these people, and that takes the weight off of my shoulders, that I have to save everyone. That's
yeah,
not my job. Their job is to save themselves. My job is to walk alongside them, and I trust that there's something bigger than all of us that is also guiding them. And when they're ready, they will get what their soul came here to get. And I can't possibly know what that is. That's between them and, and their, and what God looks like for them.
yeah,
So, but yeah, that's been a huge part of the piece of the puzzle, is because people come in, and it's like, why do all these bad things happen to me? It's like, I don't know. Some of the things you can't explain when they've been through really horrific things.
yeah.
I don't know why you had to go through that, or why you went through that. But now it's yours. Now you have it. What should we do? What do you want to do going forward? Do you want to keep carrying that? Do you want to work on letting it go, on forgiveness and making peace with it? And what does that look like for you? And yeah, helping them work through those really, really hard things.
I love this topic, and I have I want to talk about it with you on another podcast when bad things happen. I love this. Uh, but there's somebody who's listening to this podcast feed, and we're talking about recovery. We're talking about substance use and recovery. It will likely hit somebody's toes at some point that's struggling with substance use and recovery. no matter where they're at, what do you think are some steps to take in order to help them through their addiction if they're currently struggling in their addiction?
Yeah, and addiction doesn't have to just be substances, right? It can be food, it can be
Right,
work. The
right,
most rewarded um, outlet that we use, shopping, spending, all of those things we can use to escape being human, because
right,
being present, 100% present in your body in this world all the time is a lot.
right.
It's a lot. And so, of course, we want to use things to escape, but just being aware of why. Why do I feel the need to escape right now?
Mhm,
What's going on inside me? What's the feeling I'm either trying to get or get away from? Because
mhm.
I'm trying to create some kind of emotion in me, or I'm trying to quell some emotions that are coming up. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling or think what I'm thinking, trying to get away from it. Or maybe I'm like down and I'm depressed and things are heavy, and I want to lift things up. I want to lighten things up. And so we reach for that thing that we know will satisfy us temporarily. But then
Yeah.
we tend to reach for it more often, reach for it more often, reach for it more often. I think the biggest thing is to talk about it. I think most of us stay struggling for so much longer than we have to, because we think we're alone. We think we're the only ones going through these things. And the truth is that keeping silent and keeping it inside and not talking about it will keep you sick.
Mhm.
When you start to bring these things out into the light, just the act of talking about it can start to relieve some of the, okay, I'm not alone. I've said it to somebody, and, I didn't get rejected, or, but making sure that who you talk to is a safe space, not talking to, like, if you and your partner have a stressful relationship, maybe that's not the place to take it. It's to your therapist or somebody that you trust, that will be a safe, non-judgmental space. I think that's a big, big piece of it. And then knowing and understanding that this is a process,
Mhm.
and it's going to take some time, and to be patient with yourself, and self-forgiveness for when you screw up, because we all fail when we're trying something new,
Mhm.
but you didn't give up learning how to walk. It's like you fell down, you got back up, and at no point did your parents go, maybe you're not going to walk, just you should just stop.
Right,
It's like, keep trying, you'll get there, things
right,
will change. Find what works for you, find the people that are safe, and yeah, not keeping it inside and trying to do it all yourself. We're not designed for that. We're designed to be in community and to heal in community and do life in community. And especially in the United States, I feel like it's such an individualized society where we
yeah,
think we're do it all alone. And the reality is that's not even close to the truth. I mean, we see people that have attained great successes in, whether it's in business or sports or in, acting or something, and we're like, wow, they did that all on their own. No, there was a ton of people that helped them on along the way. Teachers,
yeah,
coaches, therapists, people that have worked through stuff with them to get them to that point. Nobody rises alone. We
yeah.
all rise on the shoulders of others.
Um, I got one commentary to that, because I know firsthand the difficulty. Like I've been in my own like gutter at one point in my life, and I learned I learned being in that gutter that it seems like the world doesn't care. There is that, you know what I mean? It's like, there was one point I went to churches. I couldn't breathe, particularly as a man. It was almost like it was a curse to be vulnerable as a man. And I was like, man, yeah, yeah. This is a whole other topic, and it's like this is part three. This is part three of coming back to this, come back to
Oh,
the interview space. But
yeah, due to how the expectations we have for our men. I started out working with women,
yeah,
and then when we started working with men, getting them to be open and vulnerable is challenging, because you guys are taught not to. You're supposed to be strong, you're supposed to be tough. Well, it doesn't serve. It really doesn't serve people. And it's like
does
finding a place where can I start to be safe and vulnerable as a man, and having other men around that are so strong they're soft. They've
Yeah.
went through their gauntlet and gotten to the other side and holding space for other men with compassion and softness and love. That's challenging. One of the comments one of my guys made is, I remember he came in, he's like, why did it take me so long to find my people? Because
Mhm.
for him, coming to us was finding home
Yeah.
and finding his people, where he was just like, you are loved, you are accepted as you are in this moment, completely flawed, and you just came from prison and you don't think much of yourself. And we just love on them and give them trust and hold that space. And for
Yeah.
men, it's hard for them to lean into that. But if they
Yeah.
can't, man,
Oh,
it's life
yeah.
changing.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean, yeah, but this is a whole other topic. This is like part three. Part two is when bad things happen. Part three is, how do people find safe space to be vulnerable? Which is honestly, I want to know your answer. I want to know your answer to that, because it is so true that there are plenty of genuine spirits out there, but it's also so true that it is so hard to find those genuine spirits. You
I
know,
think I think we recognize them in our body. Like, I think our body and our minds give us cues.
okay, I like that.
There's so many things that now I can look back and go, oh, that's why. It was like I could walk into a room where, like, let's say there was a large gathering, which is still, that's not my favorite place. I'm more of a connector with one-on-one or just a couple people. That's how I prefer. I used to
Yeah.
shame myself for that because our society is like, oh, you should go to the party and have all the fun. No, I would have so much social anxiety.
Mhm.
And I could be talking to somebody and just not really like getting that really deep depth of connection that I was hoping for.
Mhm.
And I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, well, I just have a hard time connecting with people. I thought it was me. Now what I'm realizing is because of what I'm talking to is their mask, right? It's
Mhm.
what they want to portray to the world. It's not their authentic self. And I
Yeah.
think so many of us don't even realize that we're wearing the mask. And
Yeah.
when somebody is willing to lower the mask a little bit and be authentic, it's like, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, those are the conversations that I'm like, this is somebody I want to get to know better. You have this comfort level, but you have to take down your own mask so
Yeah.
that the other person can feel safe enough to maybe start to, peek over their own mask. And that's what I've found. If I can be authentic and vulnerable in myself. And I remember, like, for one, I was getting to meet this lady and it was a newer friendship and we were going for a hike. And so we are just chit-chatting and, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. And then I went, I'm not
So
good.
cliche.
That's a lie. I'm actually not doing well. And I caught myself, right? Because that's our automatic default. Oh,
Right.
I'm good. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Now
but,
where's the
but but
conversation go?
but we know why though. Nobody wants, really deep down. Here's the other part of the mask is nobody wants to hear that.
You think
Honestly,
they don't.
you think they don't. This
You
this I,
think they
this
don't.
this we Michelle. If we talk, if you allow us to talk, we're gonna end up having like a 2 hour conversation.
Yeah.
We're about to go deep. We're about to go deep here because
But yeah,
you might end up actually give some therapy to me here, without even
people,
knowing it.
they're craving authenticity. They're so tired of the masks. People are dying for places where they can just be themselves and be authentic and have those real conversations. And when I had the courage to take the mask off and say, you know what, actually, I'm not doing very well. My girlfriend was so cute and she's like, you know what? I'm not either. And that was the beginning
Mhm.
of a really rich friendship that I now have. But
Yeah.
again, it took a little more. We don't see each other a lot, but when we do, all those connections are real and rich and authentic.
I had that moment once. Here's me being authentic. Once with a professional friend. We both are credentialed in our, and we're both considered very high professionals. And I didn't know he was going through anything, and he didn't know he was going through anything. And I had my vulnerable moment with him, and then he ended up in reverse having his vulnerable moment with me, and our eyes were open, and we've been best friends ever since. So I understand this, yes, but that's like one out of like thousands of because I think again for men, even individuals in general, I think that you really don't get pushed to be that vulnerable, and for the average person until you're going through a severe pain point where you have no choice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely can see that narrative in the addiction world, or recovery world, where it takes for you to almost hit rock bottom for you to actually get that vulnerable because you got your mask up the whole time. I would probably argue that the reason why people even get to that point is because they're trying to substitute being authentic with a substance. It is the complement or substitute to having to have vulnerable conversations. And if more people had more authentic, vulnerable conversations, it will probably pull us away from those things earlier. But
Mhm.
that's me making a very, very loud, maybe biased statement there. But I think there's some validity
I
to
think
what
you're
we're
I
talking about.
right. I think you're
Yeah,
very right. I think if we felt safe enough to be more authentic and vulnerable all the time, and be more real about what's really going on for
yeah,
us, it's a game changer, right? Because
yeah,
then I don't have to carry it so much because
yeah.
we're masking all the time because we think nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
Nobody wants to listen to me complaining. It's like, no, actually, maybe that's exactly what they need right now is to know that they're not alone in their struggles too. So the
Yeah.
more we can be courageous and authentic every day, the better it is. But then it's
Courageous
also
and
like,
authentic. Yeah. I
yeah,
love it.
and but be careful that it's like, is this all I'm talking about? Am I trauma bonding? Are
Mhm.
we just talking about all the things that are going wrong?
Yeah.
Because I was in that for a while in early recovery. It's like,
Mhm.
what makes me significant because I have significant trauma.
Mhm.
That's important. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, you went through some stuff, but it's not who you are.
Right. 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 Yeah. I love this. That's part four to our conversation is trauma. So, I'm going to end the podcast here. I got to shift gears. I'm pretty sure I've probably, extended, but I'm gonna reserve the next time I talk with you because I'm claiming it out in faith. I'm gonna reserve 2 hours. I want you to reserve 2 hours for me, and I want us to have some lengthy, deep conversations here, which I think are beneficial to everybody listening. I'm hoping this is anointed conversation that really touches individuals because I really think you got something to say, and I don't know how often you say it publicly, but I can hear it. I find a kindred spirit. I love what you're doing, and I love your approach. I mean, it's right up my alley. So I'm glad I was able to meet you online through this experience. And we'll stay connected. I'll talk to you after this for sure. And we'll just stay connected here. Thank you
Beautiful.
for joining the podcast. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Talk to you. Bye now.
Bye.